bold journalism.
But Drew Hernandez is a strong-minded individual.
Exposing lawlessness.
Drew Hernandez, who is ideological.
Finding the truth.
And use the word Antifa.
This is what they do.
Battling
They're
mainstream
liars. The woke mob, all they can do is lie.
These are the front lines.
Welcome to TPUSA Live. My name is Drew Hernandez, host of Frontlines. Here's what we've got coming up on the live stream today. First up here on Frontlines, this should not be surprising to anybody at this point. More Black Lives Matter leaders are under a microscope today after allegedly using donations to buy a multi-million-dollar home in California. After that, we'll send it over to the couch for TPUSA Live. MAGA Hulk Davis is explaining how a student from a school he recently spoke at is facing major backlash and threats to be held back from graduating, all for organizing that event. And then you can't miss Jack Posobiec on Human Events Daily. Today, Jack is talking about the mass migration plan laid out by the Biden administration in leaked documents from Homeland Security. And stick around to see the reveal of the brand new Poplitics set. And by the way, Frontlines is now available on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and other streaming services. Do not forget to subscribe and leave a 5-star review right now. Do it right now. I've got a great guest with me here today on the desk today, Amala, Ekpunobi. Here's a little introduction.
Tonight, we bring you a 21-year-old who went from hard left to conservative activist.
The fear, as it pertains to me, is that I represent a particularly difficult opponent, being a black female, because the left uses me and my race and my gender to promote myself as a victim.
Those doctors who are going on Joe Rogan's podcast are not having any incentive for doing so, while CNN and MSNBC and ABC are tanking. 11 million people watch Joe Rogan's podcast.
I think with the COVID-19 pandemic, we saw a lot of kids home from school and parents actually getting a look at what teachers were teaching, and some of these parents were not happy.
And you'll find that most of the people who shout the defund the police narrative will never feel the true weight and the true reality of the situation once it actually happens.
We get to experience more freedom than anybody in the world, and to know that you can go out and be whatever you want to be is a beautiful thing that should absolutely be celebrated on both sides.
Amala, Ekpunobi, PragerU's great contributor, content creator. Dude, I've been watching you for the past couple of years, and you've been killing it.
Oh man, thank you. It's really been a ride. I wasn't expecting to do any of this, and now suddenly here I am. So
well, tell us about that. Tell us more for our viewers that may not be familiar with you. I'd be surprised if they're not. Tell us more of your background. How did you get involved? What led you to, be where you are today and be this vocal? You're obviously all over social media with Prager, but what led to this?
So I grew up in a left-leaning household. I was raised by a single mother who happens to work for the left, and she does so even to this day. So you can imagine how happy she is about what I do now. Yeah. And I grew up with a lot of indoctrination that was really centered around my race and my gender from a really young age, just being taught that by virtue of being a black female, life was going to be a lot harder. And I'm sure you've heard a similar narrative. And I harbored a lot of hate for America in general, our institutions, our systems. And I thought, really, there's nothing better for me to do than to go out and be an activist and to fight this and convince other people. So I graduated high school. I started working as a youth organizer and indoctrinating, or what I believe to be indoctrinating in retrospect, a lot of young people. And I lasted about a year doing that before I noticed a lot of hypocrisy and just a lot of wrongdoing in what I was saying and what I believed. And when I confronted the leftists that I work with about it, nobody wanted to hear a thing. And I got ousted, And I went to the internet and started to find all these conservatives who were saying, just because you're a black female doesn't mean you have to think this way. I know you've been convinced of that. And I realized, wow, I'm on the wrong side of history here. I started making videos about it, and PragerU found me.
Wow, Amala. So I'm curious. I always ask people this question because, I love to see, what was like. Was there like a defining moment? Was there something that happened to you? Was there something that was said to you? Was there like that red pill moment, where you were pulled out of the matrix and you're like, okay, this is wrong? Was there something like that? I love to hear these stories.
There were a lot of moments like that. I had one in particular. So when you work for a left-leaning organization, we do these meetings, as any organization does, but they start off with these community agreements, and they essentially write on this whiteboard a list of rules that you have to adhere to while you're in this meeting. Things like say your pronouns before you speak or introduce yourself, make space, take space. They're really good at making slogans. So I had a coworker go up and start writing these community agreements, and at the end of it, she says, all the white, cisgendered, heterosexual people in the room, don't speak at all. You've had the floor for long enough. We don't need to hear from you. And here I am, just this young girl who was raised by a white family, who took care of me my whole life, made sure I never wanted for anything. And I just couldn't hold the love that I had for my family and their whiteness with that sort of racist tendency that people on the left have. And I went and confronted the VP of the organization I was working for and said, I don't understand how you can claim to be tolerant and anti-racist and say all of these things. And he looked me dead in my face and said, you just don't know how oppressed you are.
Wow.
And yeah, that was
There's
his
the
response.
CRT.
Yep.
Wow.
And it's not my job to teach you of your oppression, and it's not my fault that you're not as angry as you should be. And
It's
that
not
was-
my job to teach you about your oppression, but
Right.
you're obviously oppressed.
Exactly. And it was my job to teach other people about their oppression. So it was just a fascinating moment.
Speaking of oppression, and I want to get your takes, we're going to read this headline real quick from Breitbart. According to Breitbart News, Black Lives Matter wanted to keep the purchase of a 6,500 square foot mansion a secret. The mansion was used for creating online content for the radical and violent Marxist movement, better known as Black Lives Matter. Now those same leaders are under federal scrutiny for misusing the funds. Shocker. Last year, BLM leader Patrisse Cullors said she was tired of the right-wing media machine going after her for buying 4 houses for $3 million. The newest house cost $6 million. Oppression. Has more than 6 bedrooms and bathrooms, several fireplaces, a soundstage, a pool, a parking for more than 20 cars. According to some documents, there are conflicting reports about what this house was supposed to be used for. Everything from a safe house for BLM leaders who had been threatened to a staging ground for influencers to create content and spread the BLM message. Last detail. The mansion was bought by Diane Pascal in 2020 after BLM got more than $66 million in donations after the death of George Floyd. Pascal is the financial manager of Patrisse Cullors and her husband. After it was bought, the ownership was transferred to an LLC based in Delaware, which allowed BLM to keep who really owned it a secret. Now, there's another detail here. It gets even better because in February of this year, the California Attorney General actually delivered a delinquency notice on the house because they hadn't submitted some of the paperwork needed to keep BLM's tax-exempt status. Another layer to this, the original article detailing all of this put out by the New York Post is actually being censored by big tech, specifically Facebook. What's your reaction on that?
I mean, I'm not surprised by this at all. As somebody who was a very avid supporter of Black Lives Matter, it was crushing to find out what they were actually doing and that they were not helping Black lives. Is it surprising now? No, not at all. And Patrisse Cullors recently did this interview where she said, you know, I really need to rest and de-stress after all the attacks I've gone through in the name of Black Lives Matter. It's like, if you want to go relax, go chill in your $1 million mansion by the pool and do that. And you have these families, which is devastating. These people who were killed by police officers, who Black Lives Matter used their names as this sort of token to help them garner all this money and all of this support. And now you have these families coming forward. Tamir Rice's mother, for example, Breonna Taylor's mother, saying, where's the money that you promised me? Where's the help that you promised for my community? And while they shout all these detrimental messages that harm low-income, person of color communities, they're stealing your money at the same time.
Absolutely, and let's talk about that, Amala. We've seen this time after time, and I'm huge on this on this show here at Turning Point, is how these minority communities, the Black community, the Hispanic community, time after time after time gets manipulated by the same people. It's almost like an abusive relationship, right? Where the abuser is like obviously causing some abuse against you, is obviously abusing you, but at the same time props themselves up as your protector, your provider, the one that's the only one that could actually help you.
Yes.
Amala, why don't these communities just finally wake the hell up, especially after a story like this, time after time?
You know, it's hard. It's hard because they attach themselves to the emotional part of the argument, and that is so powerful for people. You see these videos of these police shootings and these police encounters, and then you couple that with this story of systemic racism, and it attacks something that's really emotional in you. And that's what happened for me. I mean, I grew up and I saw the murder of Philando Castile, and a lot of people would say, even conservatives would say, that's very wrongful. But they attach this to this false narrative that you are being targeted day in and day out living as a Black person in this country. And when you hear that, that all you want to do is fight. And I think we live in a country that is particularly devoid of struggle as well. And when you hear somebody say, no, this is the fight of your lifetime, this is what you can do to stop this, and it's going to save lives, of course you're going to attach yourselves to that. And Black Lives Matter is a really brilliant slogan, and it's one that people don't look into.
And it's like, we've seen this, right? When you take a look at the black on black crime and Hispanics are right behind them, these communities are destroying themselves.
Yes.
They're killing themselves. They're ripping themselves to shreds. And this is just further proof that the black community, in the name of Black Lives Matter, is exploiting dead black people, exploiting their emotionalism, exploiting things that they know they care about, and they're filling their pockets with millions, while at the same time claiming they're oppressed.
Yes.
So what is your message, Amala, to these communities that just cannot see this?
You know, it's tough. You got to focus on the real issue. If you really want to save Black lives, let's talk about drugs. Let's talk about black on black crime. Let's talk about what's actually happening in the Black community, where people are meeting all these wrong influences in their lives. That's what truly saves Black people in America. There is no right that you have that I don't. There's no privilege that you have that I don't. And as soon as we start educating people and getting them to know that, that's when their lives change. But unfortunately, the left has all these meaningful and powerful words that sound so beautiful. Black Lives Matter. Oh my gosh, that sounds amazing. But they don't tell you the true part of what they're doing, breaking down the nuclear family, destroying low-income communities, ignoring crime, hurting police, having them defunded, and hurting these communities more than anything ever really could. And you just have to do your due diligence and look past the beautiful words and the pretty slogans and the fiery emotions that you have, and truly look into what they're doing, because they are not helping Black people.
Yeah, and you know, my experience, I mean, I've been called a white supremacist time after time. I'm
Same
sure
here.
you have too. All these, you know, minorities that have wrong think. It's always like the real racists are them. It's these white liberals, right, that come towards us, that come at us, people like you and me, that don't think the right way, that don't speak the right way, that don't have the left-leaning ideologies, that come out and say, you should be silenced, you should not be speaking, you've just been brainwashed. Amala, you know, you're just a Black person that has, you know, been so oppressed that you don't even realize you're oppressed. And I have to always ask myself, and especially me being Hispanic, I try and communicate to the Hispanic community, like, they're projecting. The real racists are them. The real oppressors are them. It's these psychopath white liberals that just dictate who I will or will not be. Have you had similar experiences? I'm sure you have.
Oh, all the time. I mean, I've gotten more hate than I've ever experienced in my life, coming out as a conservative and saying that's what I am. And a lot of it was from the Black community, calling me an Uncle Tom and a race traitor and things like that. And we have to realize what real racism looks like. Real racism looks like looking at you and going, because you look the way you do, because you have the background that you have, I expect you to have this mindset. And to have yourself placed in a box of mental slavery is truly problematic. And I think people just need to realize that. And I think we're starting to have those conversations. I'm seeing more Hispanic conservatives. I'm seeing more Black conservatives go, wait a minute, I've joined this team and now I'm far more successful, and I'm realizing that I don't really have these barriers set in place that everybody's telling me that I have. And I just tell everybody, you know, you have to question the side that's trying to convince you of your own victimhood and is doing absolutely nothing to help you. It's a hard sell for conservatives going, you know, logic, facts, pick yourself up by your bootstraps, take accountability. That's a hard sell, but it's the right one.
Absolutely. And you know, these people think that they're like the new civil rights movement with Black Lives Matter, all these organizations. The white allies come through Antifa and, you know, the DSA, the Democrat Socialists of America, and they act like we need them, right? They come out and they act like you need us to get ahead. You have these, you know, these people in corporations like Disney or Coca-Cola that are like, you know, diversity hires, and we need a Black person because the Black people are oppressed, or we need a brown person because they're oppressed, and they can't do anything. And it's like, how do people not see that, number one, I don't need you, number two, you're the one actually saying I'm oppressed, and number three, you don't realize that you are what you're accusing us of being. And Amala, I want your take on this, because it sounds weird saying this, but you take a look at the civil rights movement and what Black people had to go through, minorities had to go through, real progression, right? Rosa Parks, MLK, people that actually had to deal with this stuff and move forward in society to change things seriously. Conservative minorities are actually kind of in the same space almost. Because we cannot speak freely online without being slandered, attacked, deplatformed, or shadow banned. it's kind of like this new oppression that's taking place with minorities that they themselves are bringing into society. Like, can you just speak out against that?
I mean, we live in a nation that our success and our very foundation is contingent upon having freedom of speech, being able to have diversity of thought, and even if you're wrong, being able to say what you believe. And I don't think people are attached enough to our country's history and its foundation to recognize how pivotal freedom of speech is and allowing people to speak. And that's why we're in the situation that we're in. So we really need to reinvigorate that love for the freedoms that we are given in this country. And it is quite ridiculous. If I go to a college campus, I'll get protested by 50 white young college kids who are calling me a white supremacist and saying I'm a racist.
Yeah.
And when you ask them for an example of such a thing that I've said that can be construed as being racist or white supremacist, there is not a single example. So I urge people, because I was indoctrinated myself, I have the utmost sympathy for people who are experiencing leftism as it stands today, because I understand with what you're seeing in mainstream media, with what you're seeing on social media, that you would believe the things that you believe. But think about how people benefit from telling you this. Think about how people benefit from silencing people like you and me and taking us off of platforms and not allowing us to speak. There's clearly some truth and something powerful about what we're saying that they feel the need to hide.
Absolutely. And before we get into some of your upcoming projects, which I want to know about, here's a video of some actress on TikTok saying white people shouldn't speak about what happened at the Oscars, the whole Will Smith stuff, because of their white lens.
Let's hear it.
Why what happened at the Oscars is not something white people need to speak on right away. There is so much nuance and complexity and layers that you will not be able to understand through your white experience without education and listening to specifically Black women, which we all know many people don't. So when you share your perspective or your education on what you perceive to have happened last night, it's coming through your white lens, which has you on a place of moral high ground, lacks understanding of Black trauma, has such an emphasis on this binary of who is good or who is bad, centers violence, only actually continues to minimize Black women and their pain, and most annoyingly continues to center yourself on that really just is not your business. So just take some time, take a minute. You don't have to respond right away. Really try and look at the entire situation before you speak on the shiny, easy grab. Because what you fail to see through your white lens was the actual violence occurring. The continued violence that is ableism and that is misogynoir. The continued violence that is white supremacy.
Virtue signal after virtue. She even threw in the neck swing in there.
Yes.
What's your reaction?
As a half white, half Black American, do I have a half white lens and a half Black one that I just utilize as it is necessary to me? It's a brilliant leftist tactic, and it's one that I used back in the day working for them, to say that because you are born the way you're born, you cannot speak on a certain issue. And that's how they sort of build these oases where they can talk about whatever they want and they can put whatever they believe the narrative to be out there and silence everybody else from doing it. It's something that we're experiencing really heavily right now with whiteness, saying that if you are a white person, you can't comment on immigration, you can't comment on women's rights, you can't comment on the trauma that Black people experience. And it's also that they can push their narrative and exile people who have dissident opinions. I would get called a Black person with a white voice for what I'm saying right now. You would get called a Hispanic person with a white voice for what you're saying
with
right
a
now.
White brain?
Yes,
I've heard it all, dude.
Very creative. I'll give it to them. But it makes absolutely no sense that because you are white, you can't look at a situation and make an assessment based on what you see.
It's ridiculous. They are the real oppressors. They're the real racists. And it is what it is. It is what it is. If I'm a person of color, I use their terminology all the time to dismantle it. If I'm a person of color that is articulate, educated, smart, looks great on camera, whatever, it's like you're just you think white, you speak white.
Yes. Look at the Smithsonian, the museum, putting out this whole exhibit on whiteness, saying that meritocracy and hard work are an extension of white supremacy. It's unbelievable. It's belittling. It's demeaning to hear that as a Black female and go, hard work and merit has to do with whiteness? That's not something that you attribute to somebody who's Black or Hispanic or Asian? Unbelievable the things that they get away with saying.
You are 100% spot on. Amala, so let's talk future, right?
Yes.
Because you've been killing it. You're going to always kill it. What do you have in the works coming up in the near future?
A lot of things. So we're launching a new show. It's starting on April 10th called Unapologetic with Amala.
And we're going to be talking through all the different social and cultural issues that we're experiencing right now. And I'm going to be talking about my old leftist perspective on it and walking you through the facts and the experiences that I had to get to where I am today, hopefully in a very compassionate manner. It's also going to be a daily live show where we talk through pressing issues. One of our episodes is going to be on policing. That's the first episode coming out, and the whole defund the police movement and the narrative around that. So just constantly talking about my experiences, how I got where I am today, and hopefully armoring people with facts to have these discussions.
Awesome. That's so racist. I can't believe you're doing that. PragerU's, Amala, Ekpunobi, hey, thank you so much for joining me. Where can the people find you and follow all of your great work in PragerU?
Sure, you can find me everywhere at the Amala Ekpunobi. You can also find me on PragerU. You can go to PragerU.com, follow, subscribe, sign up for our email list to get updated when all this fun stuff comes out.
Absolutely. All right, America, we have another insane story coming up when we come back from the break, so stay with us.
This is your brain. This is your brain on socialism. Any questions?
President Joe Biden would rather blame meat producers for inflation instead of his poor economic policy. On top of that, the government has abandoned small American farms and ranches to cater to large foreign corporations. We, the American people, need to put our money where our patriotism is now more than ever. Now you can get American meat delivered with Good Ranchers when you buy Good Ranchers and use the code TPUSA and donate $50 to us. It is easy, simple most, but the impact is huge. Donate $50 to TPUSA and get steakhouse quality meat, chicken, and seafood by visiting goodranchers.com/TPUSA and buy your box of American meat today. Food shortages are coming, so make sure to go and do it. All right, America, let's continue with our next story of the day. Postmillennial reports that an Illinois church commits to fasting from whiteness for Lent. Let's run that clip real quick.
Throughout the season of Lent, we are continuing our spiritual practice that we are calling fasting from whiteness. Now, of course, I am not someone who can change my skin or change the way that my presence as a white person allows me to walk through this nation with much ease. But during this season of Lent, what we are doing is we are choosing to place at the very center of the worship life of this church the voices of Black people, Indigenous people, and other people of color.
Oh, thank you so much, Mr. White Man. Thank you so much, Mr. White Leftist. Thank you, thank you. I'm just an oppressed brown person. Oh, I need you so much to give me an opportunity in life because I can't do anything by myself. I need you to give me a handout so I can be successful. Give me a break. These people are losers. They're liars. They're the real oppressors. I don't need anybody. I just need God, and I need what He's been given, which is grace, to be successful in life, period. I don't need these people to give me a handout. Anyways, this is from the Postmillennial. An Illinois church commits to fasting from whiteness for Lent. For those who don't know, Lent is a 40-day season of fasting and prayer, and Catholics are asked to abstain from something, and apparently these people worshiping at this particular church believe they need to abstain from whiteness. Whatever that means. Listen, this is where you find yourself here in 2022. This is not a church. That's not a pastor. That's not a man of God, because God is not a racist, and God doesn't see this stuff through the scope of color, okay? If anything, the Bible and the gospel breaks down racial barriers. If anything, the Bible and the gospel shatters racial barriers, doesn't actually implement them. You don't need to see some kind of pastor coming out and saying, oh, we need to fast from our whiteness, because what he's implying, especially from a theological and biblical perspective, is in a time of fasting, if he needs to draw closer to God, there might be some stuff he needs to shake off and see. In theory, he's basically saying, in a biblical worldview, that I need to fast from something evil within myself, which he is saying his own race, his own identity, his own skin color. This is the CRT indoctrination, which are doctrines of demons, by the way, to tell a population of people that by default, because of their skin color, and just because white people are the majority population in a society, that's the hegemonic power, and they're the racists by default because they're the majority population. No, that is not from God. That is not from the Bible. That is not from anything that is the source from heaven. Those are doctrines of demons, and they're evil because they're intended to manipulate the minds of people to believe that they themselves are evil and that something needs to change. Nowhere in the Bible, nowhere in the scriptures do you see God or Jesus come out and say, you know what? Skin color within itself is sin. From a theological perspective, what you're seeing from this so-called church with these doctrines of demons is this further CRT indoctrination to come out and say, white people in our congregation, your skin color is evil, and therefore you need to fast from it. That is heresy. That is false teaching. This person is probably not even a Christian. I'll go as far to say that, because a Christian that is indwelt with the Holy Spirit is not going to sit there on behalf of God and tell a population of people that you need to fast from your skin color and from your whiteness, whatever that may mean. But we've already been warned about this. False prophets, false teachers would invade the last days. They'd be successful. They'd be propped up by people with itching ears. You're seeing this continually. You're seeing this happen on more of a frequent basis, where these so-called people of God are getting into positions of power and they're claiming to speak on behalf of God, and they're laced with this hardcore liberal Marxist, I guess if we can even call it theology. It's false teaching, and it's designed to manipulate the hearer, manipulate the mind of the individual that's hearing this. These are not good things. These are not heavenly things. These are evil things that are indoctrinating the minds of an entire generation. How can this be acceptable, especially in the context of a church? That's not a church, I can guarantee you that. That's a wolf in sheep's clothing. That's an individual that thinks they're speaking on behalf of God. And I would go as far to say that that person is not a Christian, is not a person of faith. Because God is not going to have some individual sit there and tell an entire population of people that they need to fast from their own existence, the skin color that God made them in his own image to be, that they're fearfully and wonderfully made inside of the womb. They've been born. So why do I need to fast from how God made me? From your whiteness? This is why I always come out and I push back and say, these people are the ones that are indoctrinated with doctrines of demons. These people are the real racists. These people are the real oppressors. But what they do is that they project. They take what they claim, okay? They take what they believe and they project it on you to make you look like the bad guy, to make you look like the racist. Because if a person of color, if someone like me or Amala comes out and says, hey, this is wrong, this is godless, this is not true, I am not oppressed, I'm not some kind of victim, then somehow they project on us and we become the bad guys. And somehow they project on us and we become the ones that are the racists, or we become the ones that have the issue, or we become the ones that are the oppressors. You see, this is why theology matters. Because if you're sitting in a church like this and you don't know a thing about God, you don't know systemic theology, you don't know how to really break down what the Bible is actually saying, you're a sitting duck. You're probably going to sit there and believe this stuff. Some false prophet's going to come into your church and start spewing cultural Marxism at you, these doctrines of demons. Some false prophet's going to walk into your church and start preaching this heresy to you, these doctrines of demons. And you might just sit there and think, yeah, this is of God, because if you are biblically illiterate, you will fall for all of this stuff. And this is not a virtue signal. These people are the virtue signalers. These people are the wolves in sheep's clothing. And listen, the church itself has to come out and be very aggressive against this stuff. Because you're living in days of deception. This is being normalized. You're not only seeing this on college universities. You're not only seeing this on college campuses. You're not only seeing this in schools. And isn't it funny, by the way, how all these CRT indoctrinators, all these people that, claim that CRT isn't in schools, when you come out and say, we shouldn't teach CRT in school. What do you mean we shouldn't teach CRT in school? Yeah, they're hypocrites, which, by the way, is something that Jesus said you should be on the lookout as well in the last days too. So I encourage people, pay attention to what's being said to you. Pay attention to the rhetoric. Pay attention to the message. Pay attention to the doctrines. Pay attention to the things that are being taught to you in a so-called church. Because I can assure you right now, what churches like this are doing is not what God wants for his people. And it's actually racist. And if it's actual racism, it's evil. And I can tell you right now, God is not a racist. God is not evil. The complete opposite. But people need to wake up and they need to pay attention because these things are evil and they are getting more popular. My name is Drew Hernandez. These are the Front Lines, and TPUSA Live starts right now.
Couldn't agree more, Drew. Thanks so much for another great show. But once again, welcome to TPUSA HQ in Phoenix, Arizona. Got a fantastic show for you. Obviously, we're going to go over the daily briefing. This is going to be the first time that President Obama has visited the White House since he tapped the phone, since he was president. And it's going to be an awesome show sitting down with Amala, who is just on the front lines from Prager University. Victor Marx is here as well. We got one last thing. We're talking about YWLS speaker drop. It's going to be a great show. So glad you guys are here. Let's get this thing rolling. Welcome to TPUSA Live.
Authentic, unfiltered, grassroots content and conversation every weekday. Live from Phoenix, Arizona at the Turning Point USA headquarters, this is TPUSA Live.
Once again, welcome back to TPUSA Live. I guess Jobob really liked the rundown.
I wish people could have seen the wider shot because I was taking a drink of water and then he said tap the phone. Oh wait, I like almost spit it all over the table.
But we got Jobob here, and Amala Ekpunobi from Prager University is back. You're getting a lot of love here at TPUSA.
I'm loving it.
You deserve
Just
all of
landed
it.
and look at it.
Thanks so much for being with us. And we obviously got the big man here, MAGA Hulk Stephen Davis. How you doing?
Oh, I'm loving life. Life is great. Life is grand. Life is fantastic. Daggone it. Yes, indeed.
Unless you're speaking on a campus.
Yeah.
We'll get to that.
Yes,
we'll
indeed.
get to that.
We are definitely going to get to that. We're going to start out the daily briefing with this. So we had a speaker drop this morning, Young Women's Leadership Summit. Are you going to be there?
I just might be.
You better be there,
We'll
Amala.
find out.
Let's go.
It's fantastic. We have amazing speakers like Kayleigh McEnany. Laura Trump's going to be there. Obviously, Erica Kirk. Charlie Kirk's better half is going to be there. Don't tell myself. Governor Sarah Palin's going to be there as well. But I think it's just an awesome event. And we obviously need more people like you, Amala, and then people like Alex Clark that are just speaking the truth. Because there's so many young women that are just getting absolute nonsense just shoved in their face on college campuses, in their woke workplace, and all over.
Yeah, that's a big reason why I started making videos. I went on TikTok of all places and just saw the degeneracy that young people were seeing on there and thought, if somebody else can do something different, why not? Yeah.
I like go on Snapchat like maybe a couple times a week. I think that's another place that's horrible. And then sometimes I'll just check out the Discover page because there's a few just easily digestible sports shows that I enjoy. But I saw this ad for Bumble. And it said how you can have virtual intimacy. And it was talking about like how to just normalize that. And I was like,
here we go.
What in the world? It had this like almost like 8-10 slides talking about, like I think this is a good thing in this virtual world and, make sure that you feel like empowered and all this stuff. It's like, this is nonsense that kids are getting. And there's still a ton, like we might not all be on Snapchat, but there's a lot of young kids that are.
Say,
yeah,
Of course. You're like, I'm not there. You're not there.
aging myself here, but Snapchat?
Wow.
It's a terrible place to be. But June 2nd through 4th in Dallas, Texas. If you don't have your tickets already, you haven't been registered, tpusa.com/YWLS. You can use promo code John.
Can you use promo code Joanna?
Oh. Actually, we need to actually do this. We need to get a big time. Nothing gets people pumped up.
Unfiltered, grassroots content and
It's
conversation.
authentic, unfiltered, YWLS. It's going to be a lot of fun. But promo code John, Joanna, we'll see if she's going to show up. She's got it.
I thought that was like your gender vendor name or something like that.
That actually is.
It is. It is.
He's a real person.
Okay.
Don't dead name him,
I'm
okay?
sorry.
Her.
Yeah, hey!
You're actually off the show.
I'm sorry, I'm gone.
I'm so confused. But you see up on your screen right now, those are some of the confirmed speakers that are going to be at YWLS. You can all use promo code Jobob as well. And is it promo code Stephen?
Hulk.
It's Hulk.
Yeah.
Use promo code Hulk.
Nice.
Boom. You can also use promo code Politics if you want to give some love to Alex Clark.
They spelled my name wrong and put Sarah Palin's name.
They always
Just
doing
kidding.
it.
Sarah
They always
Palin is
messing up.
actually going to be there. I'm very excited.
And like I said in the rundown, that Jobob seemed to really enjoy. This is the first time that President Obama is going to the White House since he did a little something to the phones.
Have you seen the memes coming out of the photo? So President Obama and President Biden took a photo together at the White House, and the memes have been hilarious. The Daily Show, of all people, the Trevor Noah Daily Show, the pretty lefty-leaning Daily Show, posted their own meme that captioned President Biden talking to President Obama, apparently, I'm Brandon. So even they're making fun of him now. Isn't that funny?
Shocking.
Yeah, the left they've had enough of President Brandon, okay? They've had enough when it comes to this guy and his shenanigans, and his poll numbers reflect that.
It's the lowest approval rating that he's had in his presidency, so not shocking that President Obama's there. What do you think, Amala?
I mean, I would like to see that people are actually going to change their minds, seeing what's happening right now, and go, maybe this is a wake-up moment for me. And I've seen a little bit of that on social media. People go, wow, this is a big regret that I have, and I'm going to carry for the rest of my life. Let's go, Brandon. But I wish everybody was looking around and seeing that.
Because this is the 12th anniversary of the Affordable Care Act as well. So, like, obviously that was President Obama's big thing.
Affordable Care Act.
Exactly.
Don't let me go off on this because literally yesterday my wife had an appointment with the doctor's office and it was, Obamacare. Sorry, continue.
You have 30 seconds. Tell us what happened,
I
Jobob.
can't condense the chaos into 30 seconds. Basically, the Affordable Care Act made healthcare way more expensive for those of us who pay it because we're private sector employees.
You got it.
So it can't just be free?
Apparently,
I can't just get free health.
It's a universal utopian society.
I've tried paying with unicorn farts, but they don't accept it. Neither does my car. My car doesn't run on unicorn farts either.
You buy those off TikTok or what?
Actually, they are from. I can't think of anything witty, so yeah.
Gotcha. Next time I'll give you my black card. There you go.
That's a double. That's a good joke.
That's fantastic.
Well, we're gonna take a quick break. We got a brand new episode of Socialism Sucks featuring this guy coming out tomorrow.
Oh, that's tomorrow.
Check that out, and we will be right back talking about a little conservative spotlight.
China lied, people died. You think we're the only economy that China wants to see fail?
You haven't been paying attention.
Remember all your online purchases? But really, we're the product. Am I the only one who wants to know why the rich got so much richer? Are you still with me? Because it gets worse.
And we're back, TPUSA Live from Phoenix, Arizona, TPUSA HQ. We got Amala, MAGA Hulk Davis, we got Jobob. I'm Jon Root. Conservative Spotlight is on you, Amala. So I know you were just on Frontlines with Drew Hernandez, and I know you shared your story so much about how you used to be a leftist, and then now you had your awakening moment. But I think your persona is so important right now, just like Stephen, because there's a lot of people that bought into BLM, especially over the past 2 years.
Yes.
When a lot of people were stuck in their homes and they didn't have community at church and they didn't have community at school and other places, and they're like, well, all right, well, this is when I can get out of my house. And a lot of people, I think, did it because they thought it was actually virtuous. They thought they were doing it for a good reason. But they got bamboozled. So you get stories like the New York Post. And I know we've known that the donations have been utilized for their own personal gain. But New York Post posted this morning that BLM used $6 million of those donations to buy a SoCal home for themselves.
I mean, it's not surprising to me at all, because you can run with these narratives and garner so much attention and so much praise for doing so. And I was a young person, 17 years old, knew nothing about the world, that was hired by this organization to spout those same exact lies. And people love to do that. And I hope that people are going to wake up and see where these donations are going, see where their support is actually being used. But unfortunately, I really do feel like it's too late. I think the indoctrination is so deep in people, and they saw these videos of the police officers and they were so emotionally affected by them that it truly doesn't matter what you say at this point in a lot of ways. And a lot of people look for that sort of aha moment that red pills people. For me, being as indoctrinated as I was, it was a lot of really small things and a lot of me going, no, I still believe it, I'm still holding on to it, until you just can't possibly do it anymore.
And then Stephen, you have a similar story too. And I feel like that's where you guys are just so powerful in this space to make sure, like, here's the truth. But also there is a little bit of me where there is a little emotion attached to this. I don't think you can completely eliminate and just shove facts down people's throats because people have just bought into this so much. They've spent their own money or they've spent time that they're never going to be able to get back.
Yeah, a lot of indoctrination is deep-seated and deep-rooted, and when it comes to these type of narratives, I mean, they're so effective at the messaging. They're really good at it. They know how to play on your emotions. And we on the right, we're like, facts don't care about your feelings, but there is a bit of feelings that you have to really tap into to really grab them from the left and bring them over to the right. But my question to you is, there's nothing the left hates more than a runaway slave, right? There's nothing, especially when it comes from the left to right.
How do I interact with
The lone white man. What do I say about this?
Oh, man.
It's the white guilt settling in right there.
Stephen, please ask that question. Sorry.
Oh man, but it's true. They hate it when we leave the leftist plantation and come over to the right. So I want to know what kind of leftist backlash did you or should I say blacklash did you receive for doing such a thing?
Man, so much. I mean, I got to say there was a lot of support. Let's put that out there first and foremost. So much support for awakening and admitting that I was wrong. But the people who were angry it was a different type of anger, an anger that I'd never seen before. Of just how could you possibly have been on our side before and now you're not, and you're a race traitor and you're saying all these lies and you're an Uncle Tom, you're a coon. Every single word that's in the vocabulary for race trading I got on a day-to-day basis. And it's because we represent, I think, a particularly difficult opponent when it comes to these issues because they use us. They use our names. Black Lives Matter is great with their slogan, say their names. They use our names, they use our faces, they use our stories and our history to sell their narrative. And now you have a black person standing in front of you going, wait a second, I don't identify with that. That's not how I lead my life. And they go, shh, shut your mouth. You're a white voice. You're a white voice. I promise. They're white. They're white. I know he doesn't look like it, but he is. And it's the only thing that they can do when we spout facts and our actual personal experiences.
It is so hard for people to say that they're wrong, though.
It
is. People on the left and the right, you feel like that in your families, your relationships. Nobody really likes admitting they're wrong. But I think that's what makes it so powerful is when you come out and say, not only was I wrong, but here's how I was wrong, and this is what I'm doing to rectify that, and here's how I'm moving forward.
Exactly. Man, it was so hard for me to go, oh my gosh, am I actually conservative? Oh my God. I was like sitting in my bedroom sweating because exactly like, I'm the boogeyman, I am the man. It's so insane because I would constantly get questions about the issues as a leftist, like going around and trying to trick people into agreeing with me. And I'd go, wait a second, I can't answer that question. So I would go home and I'd be like, I'm going to get this racist bigot and I'm going to go on my computer and look up all these facts. And then I found like PragerU videos and Turning Point and Candace. And I was just like, oh no, I could be wrong.
Can you talk about, so we were talking upstairs about kind of like what you described as like the tipping point. Like explain that really, because I thought that was fascinating.
Okay, yeah. I mean, there was a number of things. On Frontlines, I talked about confronting them about their racism towards white people, but I actually had another experience in that vein. I was working on a project with this organization for this documentary called the Groveland Four. And it's about these 4 black men from Florida who were wrongfully accused of rape and went through all this turmoil. A few of them ended up dead and wrongfully so. And I was teaching college students and high school students about how racist this is. And look, it happened back then. It's still happening now. This is the foundation of this country. It's baked into everything that you see and everything that you believe. And in the background, Brett Kavanaugh gets accused of sexual assault during his confirmation. So I'm sitting here watching the hearings and the Senate hearings while working on this project, and we're talking racism in one sense and we're talking white supremacy in the other. So I went to my boss and I said, yo, how are we doing these two things at the same time? And why are we not treating him the same with this accusation? And he said, well, he's a white man. He's the frat boy type. You can look at him. You know he did it. We should hang him is what he said.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
Guilty before proven innocent.
Yes, very radical statement. And when you see just that utter and sheer hypocrisy, it's really hard to keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
True.
So how do you talk to people now with the now SCOTUS nominee, where everyone's like, I can't believe they would do that to a black woman. I can't believe they would question her like this. That's not only questioning her womanhood, that's questioning her blackness. And it's all just these, I can't believe you would do this to this person. And they refuse. What did you say, Siri?
I'm sorry, I don't know.
What did you say?
She's got to say something.
Siri, I'll ask you later. I'm asking Amala right now, about how Brett Kavanaugh and then Amy Coney Barrett, how they got treated. But people, and then also too, people are constantly forgetting about Clarence Thomas.
Oh, I know.
It's like the first black person. It's like, come on.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, and all because he represents a different set of ideology. I mean, and to those people I say, if you want to talk racism, let's talk about how this Supreme Court nomination was racist from the get-go, because this administration said we are going to pick a black female. And I don't think people truly understand what the issue is with affirmative action hiring. Not only is it racist because you are ignoring an entire set of people who have applied for this job, but you are actually creating a climate of racism, because now we as individuals have to go through this world, and we're going to look at people who are people of color, and maybe they're in these upper echelon jobs, and we're going to look at them and say, did you really get that based on your merit, or did you get that because you're black or because you're female? And then they get to look at themselves and go, did I get this based on my merit, or did I get this because they wanted a black person? You are essentially robbing every single person involved in the situation.
What's the best way that you've seen that actually is effective? So for people to take home and use in their everyday life, what's the most effective way you've seen to kind of, I don't want to say convincing people, because I don't believe in liberals. They're not a real thing. They're just conservatives who don't know they're conservatives.
Yes, sir.
So what's the most effective way to reach them and bring them over to the light, so to speak?
Yeah, I mean, the powerful thing for me has been telling people, I was you. I know exactly what you're feeling right now. I did my first ever college speech at Winona State University, and 50 students showed up to protest me and call me a white supremacist and all these things. And they had all these signs talking about how hateful I am. And I went to them and I confronted them very nicely, and this is all on video if you guys want to see it, but I said, can you give me one example of anything that I've ever said that is offensive to you? If it's racist, it's bigoted, it's transphobic. They couldn't give me an example, and just were just shouting words at me. At one point, they collectively shouted SpaghettiOs at me. And that was their tactic. And yeah.
That got you. That stumped you.
And immediately I thought, oh my gosh, I am a leftist, and I need to leave my values right now. But so that happened, and we had this moment where I said, wait a minute, okay, I used to be a leftist organizer. I would have been the one who got you all together to do this right now for a conservative speaker. And I've got this little black power thing that I got tattooed when I was 16, completely embarrassing. But I showed them and I said, man, I was you. And I understand with what you're seeing right now, how you feel the way you feel and why you feel the way you feel. But here are the things that you're not hearing, and here's why you're wrong. And you can come in, you can sit in the front row. The first time we have Q&A, you will be the first one to come up. And out of those 50 students, we got 5 of them. But normally it's 0. So, you know, I'll take 5 where I can get 5. Of course. And I think it's just relating to their experience and giving a good faith argument for why they believe the things they believe.
I want you to show off that tattoo again, too. Because the question would be, like, for me and everybody else is, you know, why you still have that. And I think it's almost important to remember your history. And, like, it's important to remember the real U.S. history, too. And then how we found our way to find reconciliation, move forward from there. And I'm sure you look at your life, you have that there, and you're like, all right, I remember what I was into, and I'm so proud of where I am now.
Absolutely. I mean, there was a moment, there's white ink over this tattoo because there was a moment where I was going to cover it up, and I was going through this whole thing where I didn't want anybody to see it, and it's so embarrassing. And then I realized, no, you know, that was the experience that you had, that was the decision that you chose to make. And at the moment, it was just sort of a moment of truly religiosity. I thought, you know, this is religious branding. This is what I believe. There's no way I'm going to deviate from this. I'll believe this to the day I die, so I'm going to put it on my body. And now it's just sort of proof of, hey, you know, I was there, I was you, this is what I went through. And I think it does take a lot to say, you know, 2 things. I don't know and I was wrong, and that's 2 things that people don't want to say. And if you can sort of lead people down that path and make them more comfortable with doing that, it's a powerful thing.
I think Isabel was bringing that up last month. It's just this idea of being like, it is okay to say, I don't know.
Yes.
It's okay to be like, all right, I know we got a hyper emotional conversation we have or discussion. I actually don't have the facts around this. So like, basically all I'm going to be able to give you is opinion right here. And I know the way that we go about things, we want to tell people the truth. And if we don't have that right now, it's like, we're really not going to go anywhere. It's going to be like whoever shouts the loudest and whoever's the most emotional is going to end up winning that argument.
Dude, and I love that because I feel like the biggest barrier, at least that I run into, and let me know if you guys are similar, is pride. It's not the facts, it's all pride. And with that sort of thing, it breaks down that pride component and makes it easier to actually get to people. So I like that.
I think that if you have it comes to a point where you have to be intellectually honest with yourself, right? And I think that's, especially when it comes to us two, we had a point in the moment where it's like, okay, we have to be intellectually honest about this. I can't make excuses about this anymore. I can't sit here and defend this anymore. I can't sit here and act like, oh, this is not a thing when it is a thing. I have to confront this head on. And I love the fact that you did, because it does take a lot of intellectual honesty and a lot of moral courage to be able to do so. And come out and say, hey, I was wrong, but hey, I'm now turning it around, and let me explain to you why it is right now. So I love your testimony. It's fantastic.
Thank you. And I'm like, you don't have to believe me, just listen to something different. Because I think that's what so many people don't want to do anymore, is they don't want to listen to something different from what they know. And Jordan Peterson talks about it a lot with his sort of maps of meaning. Everybody has their map, and they're just constantly fitting things into it as they see fit, instead of looking outside of it and hearing something new. I am constantly listening to leftists and liberals who disagree on certain things, because by all means, if I am wrong, prove me wrong, and I will sit there and admit it, because I've grown closer to truth, and that's my goal.
Yeah.
So how do you give people the truth about CRT, the 1619 Project, and a lot of these, and even just what BLM's pushing about, just trying to destroy the nuclear family? How do you give people the tools and resources to fight back against those ideologies that are hurting that community?
I mean, there's a lot of things that you can do, but I think at baseline, you ask the question, is it okay to fight racism with racism? And I think in general, most people of all walks of life will say no. And then you have to explain how things like critical race theory and Black Lives Matter are inherently racist, and I mean to their core. If you go back and read the writings of Richard Delgado or Gene Stefancic or Derek Bell, the people who created these theories, they are inherently racist. It is truly baked into the words that they're writing, the things that they're saying, and what they believe. Derek Bell wrote that racism is part of every single facet of our society, and that because of that, we should constantly be viewing our world through the lens of race. Is that conducive to leading a unified society and one that cares about freedom of speech or differing opinions? Absolutely not. And when you teach people, that's what it is. I'm not going to say my words. I'm going to say the words of the people that you uphold, the people that you love. These Derek Bells, these Kimberly Crenshaws, these Ibram X. Kendis. Their own words are harmful and divisive. And once you recognize that, you just have to take the leap and admit it.
That's why I'm glad you bring up this aspect of it's like religion to them. Like you have your new idols, you have your new gods that you're going to. Like these are the priests of a specific ideology, and you got to adhere to this. And there's going to be a new book you got to buy, and there's going to be a new event that you got to go to. You got to spend your money, got to spend your time if you want to reach this almost just enlightening. It almost sounds like Scientology to me. In a lot of ways.
How many thetans do you have?
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
But I want to wrap up this conservative spotlight with a nice little hype video from this new show that you're starting, because you're going to the absolute moon here. And there's a reason that people are flocking to you, is because you're giving them the truth and you're doing it in such a unique and powerful way. Let's play that video.
Tonight, we bring you a 21-year-old who went from hard left to conservative activist.
The fear, as it pertains to me, is that I represent a particularly difficult opponent, being a black female, because the left uses me and my race and my gender to promote myself as a victim.
Those doctors who are going on Joe Rogan's podcast are not having any incentive for doing so, while CNN and MSNBC and ABC are tanking. 11 million people watch Joe Rogan's podcast.
I think with the COVID-19 pandemic, we saw a lot of kids home from school and parents actually getting a look at what teachers were teaching, and some of these parents were not happy.
And you'll find that most of the people who shout the defund the police narrative will never feel the true weight and the true reality of the situation once it actually happens.
Dang.
That got me fired up.
That's exciting.
That's freaking dope.
I'm not going to lie to you, John. That was way more pumped than the Tiger Woods video you showed yesterday.
Man.
Dang. Ouch.
Tiger's going to play in the Masters, and I'm excited.
Wait, but is he changing the culture?
No, but it's sometimes okay to be excited about the return of El Tigre. Okay? But let's stay on you real quick. Like, talk about this new show and then what you hope to accomplish.
Sure, yeah. We're going to be taking a deep dive into all the different issues
issues that I was indoctrinated into when I was, 17 years old and fighting this fight. And I'm going to be giving a good faith argument for why leftists believe it, and then completely destroying it. So, that's why we call it unapologetic. I promise I will be compassionate. I do not bite, and I just want to lead people down that path. And it's also going to be a daily show where we talk about news, pop culture, personal stories, and just things that people are already talking about, but giving a different perspective. So I'm excited to do it.
I love it. Well, we're definitely very thankful that you're here and that you're spreading the truth all over the place. You and Prager, you are doing a killer job.
Oh, thank you. So are you guys. So happy to be here.
Thank you. We're going to have a little message from our friends at Patriot Mobile. Then we're going to be back talking about MAGA Hulk's visit to Bakersfield.
Good times.
Stick around.
Yes, we're going to take your AR-15, your AK-47.
Abortion, I salute you! Women, if you need an abortion, get one! You said police defund!
Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. It must be fought for, protected, and handed on to the next generation. Activate freedom. Join Patriot Mobile.
Welcome back to TPUSA Live. MAGA Hulk Stephen Davis. We got Amala. We got Jobob. I'm John. You had a visit to Bakersfield. You went to Centennial High School in California, Southern California. Bakersfield, kind of a tough spot. I won't tell you that for sure. Not the nicest place ever.
Is there any tough spot for him, though? Like, I will go anywhere on the world
That's a good question.
with Stephen Davis.
Honestly.
But you went there, and then obviously you probably stuck out like a sore thumb. Like,
Yeah.
what is this guy doing here?
Yeah.
Like, who's he going to beat up? It's like, no, I'm going to beat up your ideology. You're telling people, like, stop conforming to what the world's telling you, even maybe what's going on in your campuses. Tell us about what happened there before we bring on our special guest.
Yeah, it was an interesting situation. I went there to speak, and I ended up speaking in the quad as opposed to the classroom. And I was just, giving basic truths about peer pressure. Okay, not being a yes man, standing on the courage of your convictions, not being a people pleaser, things that are pretty universal, right? And of course, I was asked a couple questions about Ketanji, so that's where I kind of went off, when it comes to that situation. But it wasn't anything radical, wasn't any type of leftist.
Did you tell them what a woman was?
I was explaining how she doesn't know as a woman because she's not a biologist, of course. So that's the way it works when it comes to that sort of thing.
Well, you're not a lawyer, so I don't know if you should be talking about her in general.
This is very true. Maybe I should shut my I'll shut my mouth.
JK.
But it was unbelievable because, it was one of those situations that people got very upset at what it is I had to say. And what was funny, because it was funny what you characterized me as, because I was characterized by the students to their parents and the parents to the school that there's an angry, big angry man on campus, right? That I'm like, okay.
Well, you are Hulk. Just don't make you angry.
Just don't make me
But I'm not
angry.
angry right now.
Do you get angry? I've never seen Stephen Davis angry.
No
I'd be very scared of that, but I've never seen that. Where do you get that adjective?
It was interesting because I was high-fiving kids, I was shaking hands, giving hugs, taking pictures. Anger five, apparently. But it was actually really interesting. They really came after the student body, or the TPUSA president, Nathan Ramirez. They really came after him. That's why I would love to get his take on the situation. Lord have mercy.
Yeah, we got Nathan Ramirez on the line right now. Nathan, welcome to TPUSA Live. Or we might actually have like a few. There's Nathan. Nathan, how you doing?
Thank you. Good. How are you guys doing?
Fantastic. Now, give the spiel of what happened after I left the campus. Or should I say, after I was escorted off.
You were escorted off the campus?
It's unbelievable.
How many people did they need to get this guy? Bring the cavalry.
The vice principal going, I need to do what?
Oh my
Sorry, continue.
And so basically when Stephen left, the following day, the principal and the vice principal sat me down in their office, and they told me that I might have offended the GSA, which is the Gay Straight Alliance Club at our school. That Stephen's presence just brung them, like, I don't know, I guess they were like scared or whatever. I don't know for what reason. And so
I'd be scared of his masculinity too.
Right. And so they sat me down and they said that they had parents calling in from their houses, saying that what was this big angry man doing at the school? He shouldn't have been there in the first place. And they said that was basically it that day. And then so on Friday, last Friday, they called the assistant dean. I was walking out of school. The assistant dean calls me back in the office. He's like, Nathan from Turning Point, right? I was like, yes. And so he calls me back in his office, like, I need to talk to you for a second. And I was like, okay. And so he waits me in like his office for like 10 minutes. But he sits me in his office and he just goes right back outside. He just has me waiting for him for like 10 minutes. I'm like, I gotta go home. You know what I mean? It's Friday. I'm trying to enjoy the weekend. You know what I mean? And so he comes back in and he tells me that I need to delete the post as soon as I can, like ASAP, like coming at me towards a little bit aggressively. And so I'm like, why? Like, why do I need to delete it? And he's like, because the videos of Stephen arm wrestling kids, they could possibly end up getting hurt or whatever. And so I was like, in my mind, I'm like, you don't have to lie to me. I'm like, you could just say you don't want Stephen with the MAGA hat on campus, that being shown. You could have just said that. And so they're like, they don't want to get liable if anyone gets hurt. And I said, with all due respect, what happens if I don't delete the videos and the photos? He's like, well, that could potentially lead to disciplinary actions for you waiting on Monday when you come back to school. And that could possibly lead with some lawsuits towards Turning Point nationally. Because I told him that Stephen is a contributor and that he could post whatever he wants on his end.
Wow.
Bring it on.
That's unbelievable.
Exactly. Good.
Exactly right.
It's unbelievable. And that's the thing, like, you know, the staff had a certain way about me, right? They felt a certain way about me. But my question to you is, what did the students feel? Did they feel like I was angry?
The day after the event, students came up to me, I've been following Stephen for a long time. It was so great to finally meet him. All these people coming up to me saying, good event you put on and all that type of stuff. It was a good event.
Yeah, and that's, see, and I hate the fact, right, and this is what's going on in this day and age when it comes to anyone who dares says anything outside of the realm of leftism, right? They try to intimidate you and they try to shut you down when it comes to what it is that you want to espouse, right? And it wasn't like we were saying anything, like I said, it wasn't any type of radical leftist ideology, it wasn't any type of anything that could be deemed as harmful, right? It was simple things, especially when it came to Ketanji Jackson, right, which apparently got the Gay Student Alliance up in arms. So it's really interesting how this works and how they came after you for it. They came after you and said that basically we're going to threaten some type of disciplinary action against you.
Also, don't they kind of realize that we do kind of have like a gay-straight alliance here at Turning Point? Like we have
They
people
do.
that work here, we got
They
gay
do
contributors.
exist. Yes.
Like there's people like in the conservative movement that are also gay.
Right.
That I think they're going to be like, you
got that.
offended this little group, but it's like, we pretty much have that here, and we're like representing so many different groups of people. So like it just doesn't have merit whatsoever.
That's actually a straight white voice, even though they identify as gay. So sorry.
I can never say these things because I'm blonde hair, I'm blue eyed, and I'm white as a ghost.
Nathan, what is like in your just seeing the way your campus works? How much of validity is there to the whole speech is violence nonsense?
Oh, well, I mean, there's a lot. I mean, for example, we have like a big LGBT crowd at our school all the time. A big presence of like just a bunch of leftist nonsense, so that's why I kind of like want to come in and like just like, because people are just listening to that knowledge and just getting brainwashed by it, you know what I mean? Yeah. So it's kind of like I want to come in. So that's why I brought Stephen in, so he could just talk to all these people, these closeted conservatives, and tell them, hey, it's not afraid to, you're not alone, There's other conservatives out there that are like you that want to come forward and end up coming out saying, I'm a conservative, because people are scared nowadays, like how I was before. I was scared because I was worried about what my friends would tell me, what everyone would tell me. And then I finally, until one person told me, once you come out conservative, you'll know who your true friends are. And I was like, oh my God, that's so good. And so I finally did. And so here I am now.
I think I would like to start Jobob's violence camp, in which I give two options. I sit there and I say very mean things, and then the next time I punch you in the face. And we'll see what you think is more violent. You can decide whether or not the speech is violent or violence is violence.
Well, according to the left now, silence is violence as well.
You're right.
Everything is
There's
violence.
a third component to my camp.
Doesn't matter.
I'm not
what
going to
you
say
do.
anything. And then whichever you think is more violent, you just let me
That
know.
works. Unbelievable. So let me ask you also, we got from you what the student reaction, what was the reaction from administrators? Were they upset at my presence, or did they have anything to say about?
The principal had told me that he was kind of upset at Stephen because Stephen used our campus for advantage for his platform, which was kind of like, that doesn't kind of seem right. So he was kind of mad at that because he has to clean up the mess on from what happens with Stephen coming to campus. So I was kind of like, that doesn't make any sense. You know what I mean?
See, I really have an issue with that. I have an issue. So I'm only on campus to further my own agenda. Never mind the fact that I'm speaking conservative values, because if I was going to further my own agenda, I would come out as a leftist. And I would be the biggest grifter on the history of life, bolstering my own ideology, bolstering my own national profile, whatever have you. But I come out speaking conservative values, and as a conservative, I guess if you come out as a conservative speaking on the campus, you're the bad guy. You're just doing it for your own self. You're doing it for clout. But if you do it for the leftists, you're doing it for the culture. So I just don't understand the way they wrap their minds around this daggone stuff.
Doesn't make any sense. But Nathan, thanks so much for your courage. Thanks so much for standing for freedom. And thanks so much for having the big man on campus. Best of luck. Make sure you keep us up to date with what's going on there, because get out of here. But Nathan, appreciate you joining us here. Good luck out there. Keep us up to date with what's going on.
Thank you for having me.
We got a little message from our friends at Freedom Square. We'll be right back with Victor Marx.
All right, guys, you have signed up, right? You've joined freedomsquare.com. If you haven't, why not? This should have happened a decade ago. How did somebody not think of this earlier? If you're a business owner, we have a business directory to promote your business to patriots across the nation. So if you want to buy American, if you want to sell American, we have a business directory. Whatever it is, go now.
Join us in the fight for freedom. Welcome to Freedom Square.
Welcome back to TPUSA Live. We got a special guest, Victor Marx here. He's a humanitarian. He's also the founder of All Things Possible Ministries. How you doing?
Doing great. Thanks for having me.
First, tell us what the doggo's name is.
This is Scout, Super Scout.
I love it, Scout.
On our Instagram.
Super good boy.
I promise I won't pet Scout because I heard bad things happen.
Well, you know, women can.
Women can.
Women and children can.
Female privilege.
Yeah.
I love
but she's
it.
one of the few dogs that faced ISIS fighters, actually.
Fantastic.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and then within 2 hours of us recovering or rescuing a kid, they were petting her. So it's a real defined switch. That's rare.
And then, I mean, you're a veteran too, so you've been overseas and you're doing a lot of work to make sure people that are dealing with trauma are becoming victors out of that trauma. Tell us a little bit more about your ministry and what you do.
Well, thanks. You know, the work we do overseas, where we got, I think, most well known was recovering women and children from ISIS. In the last 7 years, and then helping those who've been affected by ISIS or terrorism or the trauma, helping them with the emotional aspect. So to date, we've helped over 43,000 women and children. Wow. And that's how I think that's a way to help stop future terrorists in all actuality. Is showing them God's love, showing them a faith in action, because we'd be right in the middle of, as a humanitarian, high-risk humanitarian, we'd be right in the middle of a gunfight. Craziness happening, and then, you know, a Muslim next to me would go, "Why are you here?" And I said, "Well, we love God, and we love y'all, and we're here fighting the same evil, and for the betterment of, you know, people."
That's what's fascinating to me, because right now we have so many people that are just like crying from the rooftops of how there's oppressors there, and I wish I was able to just like live my life, and we're the freest, most prosperous place in the history of the entire world. And then when you go and you're able to expand your worldview and see people that are really under persecution out here, you're talking about like the LGBT community outside of America. You talk about women outside of America. Obviously, we're always going to fight for freedom here and equality, but there's real oppression going on over there. How do you make sure people know and get outside of their just Western worldview?
Well, it's facts over assumptions. You know, and a lot of people are moved emotionally when there's no basis in fact of what they believe or perceive as suffering. It's oftentimes just manufactured because they want to feel like they're part of something. I just spoke at a school and I told the gals, I said, just a few weeks ago I was in Iraq again. My wife and I actually have a home where we take women and children still in, our team's over there. And I said, you know, there was a young lady who had been kidnapped at 11 years old by ISIS and became a real sex slave. Wow. And through facilitating with our teams, we were able to see her free. And we had her in our house 48 hours after that. And she had a broke nose and a broke back. But the biggest smile and joy on her face,
that's what's
because she said, I'm free. And we're committed to helping her go through everything she needs to have really a life of prosperity. So I think it's a pretty good indicator if some of the gals came up. Oh, I'll give you a great example. There was a protest in New York City. Remember the statues?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so everybody, and our team happened to be up in New York City at the time, and I had scout. Police were everywhere. It was a big, and I just walked right in the middle of it, sat down with a group in the court with my dog, and they all started petting, and I said, "Hey, what are y'all protesting? This is pretty wild. Let's get it on." And you know, they're like, "Well, it's about statues." I go, "Really? Which one?" And they're like, "Well, we think it's over on 9th Street." And then I was like, "Oh." I said, "I love y'all's moxie. I love this youth energy." And I said, "You ought to come to Iraq with me. we need people like y'all who have all this energy, who can love on people who are really suffering." Thousands and thousands. And it actually changed the mood and the setting right in that deal. And next thing you know, they were taking selfies with the dog.
It kind of reminds me of a quote. I think it's Ben Franklin, forgive me if I'm wrong, where it says, rebellion to tyrants is obedience to God. Does that have any relevance to you specifically and kind of drive what you're doing overseas?
I think it does, but also...
I don't know how theologically correct that is, but I think that's just a quote from...
Well, you know what? I mean, of late, I've been labeled all kind of stuff because I am the older white man. I am the hegemonic power. I am the oppressor.
You are the patriarchy.
I'm the cause of all these. You know, on our social media, people started tagging me. I'm like, my dad was a drug dealer and a pimp. I lived in a trailer. I was abused and left for dead in a commercial cooler. I had 123 visits to a trauma specialist. I've been on Depakote, Depakine, Prozac, Zoloft, abuse bar. I'm like, so go ahead and tell me where that privilege comes in, because I actually didn't see it. And you know, I thank God for the Marine Corps.
Yes, sir.
Because that was a place they gave me 3 hot meals, a place to sleep, and a gun. And I was like, "Can I shoot people?" They're like, "Yeah, just the ones we tell you." But I took the opportunity to join the military, and to your point, it was out of that pain, because you know, people admire you for your success, but they relate to you because you're pain. And I think that's been a real good driving factor to help those who suffer, both here in the U.S. and overseas.
That's what's fascinating to me. I love movies a lot, and I feel like the storyline they constantly try to tell you is there's a lot of times there's a villain, you're going to go back to their childhood, there was some sort of trauma, and then how they utilize that trauma to go and like, I need to fight the oppression. But you were able to use that trauma to do good. I know we're sometimes seeing that with heroes stories as well, but you were, I mean, I feel like that's why your story is so inspirational, because you were 5 years old when you got left in that cooler, right? And when you're going through that and you're looking back, I'm going to use that as motivation.
Well, we all have choices. Nobody takes choices away from us. Come on. It's what we decide to do with it. And that's why I don't coddle people who've been abused. a struggle. You got a decision to make. And, we took a girl into our house who, she was 3 days underneath her mom's dress, hijab, and only come out for water. And a friend of mine, Dave Eubank, was watching, and they ended up doing a rescue. They brought her to us. She couldn't talk. And my own children here in the U.S., we brought to Iraq for a summer. We were like, this is summer camp for y'all.
Family vacation.
What a way to grow up. Yeah. This is, Camp Iraq. Yeah. And my daughter said, Dad, will she ever talk again? Because she was catatonic. And my bride, who's right over there, who is the most courageous of all our team members.
Let's go.
Literally has gone everywhere.
Wow.
And respect. Yeah. She's like, she wanted to bring bubbles on that pump over there. And I'm like, what do we not bring bubbles? We need ammo. We need body armor. And she's like, bring the bubbles. I was like, you want some? Okay, I'll bring the bubbles.
Bubbles it is.
Got it. And because she's a black belt, she can shoot. She can work a blade. I mean, she's the real Tomb Raider right there. And sure enough, my kids put out those bubbles and started blowing bubbles. The little girl looked, smiled, walked over there, and started talking again.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, bubbles for everybody.
There we go.
And so, I think if we just give people an opportunity for change and hope and healing, and then encourage them, the choice is still yours.
Right.
And we see God do a lot of great things. And sometimes we've been persecuted by even Christians here in America, because they would say, there's a bunch of weird pastors out there who aren't good leaders. We saw all that happen, and and I have to get out of my shell because I don't have an opinion. So I'd call them out and go, what the heck? Grow a backbone. But I remember someone saying, "Why? We saw a picture of you carrying an AK." I said, yeah, and I was carrying a kid too.
Comment on that.
In Mosul, where ISIS was shooting at us. I just go, well, do you lock your door at night there in America, Super Saint? And then they get quiet. So I think there's a place that we're called to stand up for the weak and the innocent. Yeah. And God's word says we should be about the business of helping widows and orphans. So that's what we do.
What's the most effective way that you've seen to kind of shed light on how lucky people are to live here? Because going to the Middle East, I would imagine you've seen some crazy stuff that you wouldn't even think of seeing in the United States. How do you kind of convey that to people that you talk to?
I think through our media, because we're able to take short clips and show people. You do a video when ISIS is shooting at you.
People
and
see
do
it.
it the way I'm like, I was trying to do a live thing. We called a signal. I was like, hey, so we're here in Mosul, and you hear,
holy cow,
boom, boom, boom.
Don't forget to share this.
Yeah. Like, hang on a second. I said, what? Oh, yeah, that's ISIS. They're, okay, I gotta go, but I'll tune in later on the internet.
That's
So,
wow.
yeah.
I have to say, because Lord have mercy, you deal with things and you see people underneath real oppression, right?
Yeah.
Real hurt.
Real slaves.
Real slavery, not this faux slavery that we say we hear about in the States, but it's piggybacking on what Jobob was saying, the fact that there's people here talking about, we're so oppressed, the hegemonic power, patriarchy and all this type of thing. And here you are going to where real oppression is, going to where real issues are that are really affecting people. It's just amazing. But I have to ask, so what other projects are you working on? I mean, you already have a slew under your belt. What other things you've got in the future?
Well, after Iraq, we went to Cambodia, where we have another safe house. We do work on the border. We've helped capture and report guys who were bringing kids over for sex trafficking.
Yeah.
We followed the entire trail. My COO, retired Colonel Jeff Teagues, was a Delta operator. Had 10 years at the unit, 1,000 missions, never lost a man.
Wow.
And he's standing right over there. He's head of our ops. So we move in excellence in whatever realm we do and whatever line of effort. But we're here in the U.S. fighting sex trafficking. My dog has a patch, pedophile hunter.
That's fantastic.
And, that's interesting when you're in an elevator. You see guys go.
Why are you getting scared there?
Probably doing more than Ketanji Brown Jackson's doing.
Which, again,
Too real.
Yes.
You know, this is what I tell people with the left and right. I just go, you don't have to hate someone who disagrees with you.
Thank you.
I mean, there were people that are no longer on the earth that you don't have to. I speak to the military. We'll go to bases and speak for counter. But one of the things I said that helped a unit, a team that came back in from a lot of fighting, I said, you don't have to hate your enemy to kill them. And that's how you protect your heart. Because there were times doing our good work, you'd see so much. A girl was attacked overseas. The guy cut her hand off, poured battery acid on her.
Goodness
gracious. And we saved her and did a recovery and got her surgeries. And I told her, she's wrapped up, I said, we'll find them and I'll make them pay.
Yes, sir.
And it took us a year because this guy had money, but we have God.
Apparently not enough money.
Yeah, no. and we got a lot of people praying.
Yes, sir.
We ended up catching him. An associate team got him. But you know what? You got to be careful in the fight not to let the darkness get on you, or else you slip back into stuff. So keeping a pure heart in whatever we're doing. So we have a training center up in Colorado Springs where we just had a group of women who were trafficked come in, and we taught them jiu-jitsu. Let's go.
It's dope.
My wife's teaching stand-up fighting. I taught blade work.
Okay.
We taught them how to shoot. And then we set up a mock rescue of 2 girls who were being held captive. They ran the recon. They ran the operation. We just sat back. And you want to see women going in with as professional grade airsoft guns on bad guys. And boom. One lady shot a guy right in the nose. It's like, yeah, you shot him in the face. That's really great. The guy was bleeding.
Wow.
They rescued the girls, got him out.
Holy
so,
cow.
yeah, there's a lot of stuff. And we want to help the next generation gain skill sets that are needed for our future here in the U.S.
As we wrap up here, I got a few more questions.
Yeah.
When I was hearing this story before the show, I was fascinated because, I mean, I don't have an expertise on like how to handle trauma at all. So when I hear something like this, you take someone or people that have gone through PTSD in major trauma back into a traumatic experience. I think of that, it's like, how does exactly that work? And then where can people go to support you guys?
Thank you. It's a rare approach to therapy, and it's extremely effective. And everything I just told you, the caveat of the weekend is we pray for them.
Fantastic.
I believe that there are demonic forces that are assigned to people. But I also believe, and God's given us a gift to pray and identify what they are, why they came, what are the lies they're telling a person. And when a person gets free, all of a sudden they're really free at a whole different level. And if people want to find out more, our website is victormarx.com. And then we're on social media. And for an old guy, we've got young people that really help us. And we reach millions every week.
Yeah, and I think just wrapping this up, I love when you remind people that like we're not fighting against flesh and blood, we're fighting against principalities, and I think that whole demonic force, we forget about the spiritual realm at times, and that's something that needs to be fought.
It's true. It will manifest in the physical, and sometimes you got to hurt people's feelings, who are evil, and have to be stopped physically in whatever way. But yeah, ultimately, it is a battle between. In a realm that we can't see but know it exists.
Amen. Make sure you support, and also make sure you support through prayer as well. I think you do a great job of making sure people fight back through prayer.
Well, thank you for all of y'all. And I'll tell you what, seeing this place gives older people like, whoa, man, this is our HQ right here. We got some action happening right here.
It's just fun, and then we feel even safer with you guys around.
Yeah,
I'll say that for sure. Victor, thanks so much for joining us. We're going to be back for one last thing. Alex Clark's going to join us to talk about YWLS.
And I hope you're filled with courage and conviction, clarity, and a little bit of wisdom. Know that we at Turning Point USA, we have your back.
We got a full couch here, and then we got Alex Clark. What's going on?
I love the vibes of having like 2 full couches. Although MAGA Hulk could probably, have just one couch.
Two people he counts.
Take up space.
But Alex, we just showed a promo of YWLS. We were telling people about the speaker drop today. And this is once again, you got to tell them how excited they should be because it's got a skater boy vibe, and I dig it.
Oh, I like how you're interpreting the theme as Skater Boy. It is darker. It is darker than last year. So last year it was all pink and purple Barbie, super, super, super girly, and then this year is a little edgier, a little spookier. There's a little spicier vibe. So you have to be there for the full experience to really see what the theme is. We're not going to totally give away beforehand what the theme is, but a lot of black is involved, which is new because last year was only pink and purple. Now it's pink, purple, and black. So that's a hint. And we've been using a lot of Taylor Swift, Look What You Made Me Do, Are You Ready For It kind of songs on our stories and stuff. So that could be a hint. But so anyway, this year is going to be different because one thing that I really wanted to do was focus on a lot of cultural topics for young women. Yes. We want to be talking about things like birth control and how do you know that you found the one and what should we be demanding from men that we date and things like that. Those are topics that I don't know, they're not really covered necessarily at conservative conferences, right? But this is important because women, we are the backbone of the home, right? Us, obviously with men too, but we play a very important role, and I think especially with bringing up children with conservative values. And so I wanted us to really have a cultural focus at YWLS this year. So we are kind of working with some speakers that you know and love and have heard at maybe other events, but talking more about subjects that you haven't heard them talk about. And then having new speakers, which haven't been announced yet, to our events that have never spoken to talk about a lot of these subjects. So it's really going to be different in every single way possible. And we just had our first speaker announcement today.
There's more than that?
Oh, this is just the first drop.
What?
Way more than this.
Holy cow.
Way more than this. But this one, we've got your faves like Ali Stuckey, Candace Owens, Dana Lash. Of course, Charlie's going to be there. Laura Trump, his wife, Erica Kirk. I'm very excited because I have an idea for what I specifically want Charlie to talk about at the event and his wife. So you'll have to see kind of if they listen to me.
I feel like I know where you're going. Listen to this spillover a little bit, and this could be really spicy.
Okay, it's going to be good, okay? I know, here's the thing. I have spent 2.5 years in the conservative movement specifically talking to and getting to know young conservative women and what we want to hear about. And so I wanted to take all of that intel that I've gathered and really put it into this year's YWLS and all the things I wish that you would talk about X and Y and Z. We're covering it all plus more. So it is a cannot miss event. June 2nd through the 4th, Dallas, Texas at everyone that's from Dallas has been saying, technically it's Fort Worth or no, it's Grapevine or whatever. I don't know. I don't live in Texas, okay? So when we say Dallas, it's just easier for people to understand. But yes, it's Grapevine or whatever because it's at the Gaylord Hotel. You know what it is, okay? Just come, all right? June 2nd through 4th, bring a friend. There are student tickets available and adult tickets. So if you are not a student, you're like, everyone says, but I'm an old mom. Can I come? Yes. You can be a mom. You can be old. You can be young. You can be a grandmother. You can be a beetle as long as you are actually a woman. Actually a woman. So that's the criteria.
Man, Joanna can't be there.
Joanna can't be there. Only actual biological women. Sorry.
It's going to be a tough conversation with Joanna. she's got a swim meet anyway. So.
Yeah. Well, this is really going to be mind-blowing, and I've always said from the beginning, the very first Turning Point event I ever went to was YWLS in 2018, and that really changed my life in so many ways. I would have never even considered working in the conservative movement if I hadn't gone to that and made friends and everything that I did. And it's also a huge networking opportunity if you are thinking, I'm going to be graduating from college, but I'm scared to work in my industry and work for a company that isn't conservative. Hey, there's a lot of people, our amazing donors that are always mingling in the hallways, and hey, they own and operate amazing businesses that are conservative owned. So you never know who you could meet and what opportunities could arise from coming to YWLS.
And then what do you think people have wanted the most out of these conferences? Because I feel like you guys have done a great job in Turning Point, you partnering with them, saying here's the cultural issues, this is what we got. What are you hearing the most from cute conservatives right now? This is what I need a sense of direction for.
I think they want to meet like-minded people. They want to feel like they have friends that share their beliefs that aren't going to cancel them when they find out that they're conservative.
Right.
That's a huge one. Every year, always from the beginning, that's always been one that girls are anxious to meet other people. And look, all 50 states are represented, sometimes other countries, but all 50 states are always represented at the Young Women's Leadership Summit, so you're guaranteed to meet someone, at least one person from your state. And then they also, I think, are really wanting to be equipped with just, how do I explain that conservatism is better? Why are these values important? Why are they better for America? And you're going to get equipped with all of the above at this event.
Boom. And then I'm sure the speakers appreciate, too, that they have the opportunity to, I've wanted to talk about this, but I haven't had an outlet, or that's not really how my podcast is.
Usually this is off limits.
Yeah, or it's like, that's not really what my brand is online or something. Like, now it's like, hey, this is how you talk to your friends. Like, these girls need to hear this.
Oh, this has been my favorite part, is kind of coming up with ideas of what different guest speakers could talk about that they don't normally talk
And real
about.
quick, we got about 15 seconds. I'm
Yes.
sorry.
It's going to be exciting. June 2nd through 4th, Dallas, Texas, TPUSA.com/YWLS. Code POPLITICS for 25% off.
Or I heard of another code.
Really?
Yes.
Jobob.
John.
All the codes.
But this has been a great show. YWLS, TPUSA.com/YWLS. Everybody, this has been a lot of fun. Scout, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Human Events Daily coming up next.
China lied, people died. You think we're the only economy that China wants to see fail?
You haven't been paying attention.
Remember all your online purchases? But really, we're the product. Am I the only one who wants to know why the rich got so much richer? Are you still with me? Because it gets worse.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard today's edition of Human Events Daily, powered by Turning Point USA. Today's top stories. Elon Musk, tech billionaire, buys a 9.2 stake in Twitter, making him the largest shareholder, and has now been given a seat on the Twitter board. Next, the Senate Judiciary Committee is split 11-11 along party lines over the KBJ nomination, forcing a confirmation vote delay. Third, the CCP is deploying the military to enforce the Shanghai lockdown. And finally, we've got new details on this. The Biden administration's mass migration plan offering a broad-scale release mechanism. All this and more ahead. Human Events Daily.
And I have a quick question on Elon Musk and him picking up a 9% stake in Twitter, which makes him the largest shareholder in the company. Obviously, the White House uses Twitter quite extensively, and Musk has been very critical of President Biden. I'm wondering if there is perhaps any recalibration of the use of the platform, or to what extent, the White House is using Twitter going forward.
It's a decision of a private sector leader. I don't have any specific comment on it, but I expect we will continue to use Twitter, as you all will as well, I would expect.
Well, that was White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki. Not long for that position, by the way, as we broke on Human Events last week, and then later the rest of the media found out that Jen Psaki would be moving on for, I don't know if they're greener pastures, but there's certainly some type of pasture over there for her at MSNBC. She's going to be going and working on, now not necessarily filling Rachel Maddow's position, but she's going to be having a show of her own on the Peacock. So she's going to be on the Peacock. We're very excited for Jen Psaki, and we can't wait to see what she puts out on the Peacock. But the massive story, probably one of the biggest stories of this week in terms of freedom of speech and in terms of the tech marketplace, the marketplace of ideas, the public square, Elon Musk, the enigmatic billionaire from the tech world, going and buying up 9.2% of Twitter, becoming its largest shareholder. And now we're hearing, just breaking this morning, that he is going to be given a seat on the board of Twitter. Now, all of these things are very interesting and for a lot of reasons. But one thing that I really want to draw people's attention to is the fact Elon Musk, Jack Dorsey, Joe Rogan, what do all these people have in common? What's the common thread that unites all of them? They're all free thinkers to an extent, but Elon Musk taking a charge lead, Elon Musk taking the leadership role at Twitter isn't about Elon Musk directly. It's also about Gen X. This is about Gen X finally standing up and taking their agency in the world. And what do I mean by that? Well, remember, Gen X was always the generation that said, we don't care. We don't want any control. We don't want any authority. We don't want anyone to have power over us. That was the whole thing. It was the anti-establishment generation. But then something happened along the way with Gen X, where they became the side that started supporting this sort of establishmentarianism, right? And what I mean by that, you had so many people from Gen X that were supporting the leadership boards of places like Twitter and Facebook as they went further and further and further left. And so for most people in Gen X, it's this idea that they don't want to be political. They want to be apolitical. They don't want to get involved. They just want to be able to live their lives and, don't tell me what to do. It's the don't tell me what to do generation. And then something came along called millennials. And millennials started getting power at all of these various institutions. Millennials who grew up watching TV shows like Glee, being on Tumblr, Zoomers as well. And they became these hyper activists. So millennials are the hyper activist generation. And as we look at Zoomers, Zoomers are even more disparate on this. Zoomers have no middle. You're either on one side or the other solely. There's no middle when it comes to Zoomers. But what happened was Gen X saw themselves in these leadership positions and then saw these increasing levels of activism coming up in places where they told themselves that there isn't supposed to be any kind of activism. It's supposed to be don't tell me what to do. And so a sort of inverse feedback loop came about because of this. And what happened? So Elon Musk is going into Twitter, not saying that he wants to take over Twitter, not saying that he wants to tell people what to say, not that he wants to tell people what to believe, not because he wants to push climate change or war in any part of the world or any one of those things. No. He's saying that he wants to go to Twitter with a mission of restoring the principle of freedom of speech and free expression. This idea that if Twitter is going to be the marketplace of ideas, and it clearly is in the digital space, in the digital world, the digital dimension, that he wants it to be an even playing field where all ideas are actually able to have merit. You can argue them, you can debate, you can go back and forth, you can say, well, I believe this, I believe that, what's your set of facts, here's what I've got, here's what I've got. You can fight it out. Not people coming in with the ban hammer striking people down. And I want people to understand that a lot of this has to do with where Gen X is coming from. Again, the don't tell me what to do, don't tell me what to say, don't tell me what to wear generation. Now, those people who famously eschewed politics for so long are now getting involved because things have gotten so crazy. And this isn't going to be the start of it. You're going to see so much more Gen X activism.
I am committed to serving as an even-handed Supreme Court justice if I'm confirmed by this body. And I have a record over the past decade that's precisely how I've treated all of my cases. And I've been serving in the District of Columbia, both as a trial judge and as an appellate judge, and we see some of the most politically contentious issues. My record demonstrates my impartiality.
Okay, so we're following, of course, the latest developments in the confirmation battle that's turned into a really battle with KBJ, Ketanji Brown Jackson, her nomination for the Supreme Court, the first nominee for President Biden to be able to get up on the Supreme Court for the retirement of Justice Breyer. But just yesterday, the Supreme Court hearing that was held, a vote came down 11-11. The committee was split in the Senate Judiciary Committee. So how is it split? Because typically the committees, they have an odd number. Well, actually one member on the Democrat side actually wasn't there, and that's how you're able to have this split. So what happens in these situations? Well, certainly it creates a lot of tension, a lot of political pressure. I want to pump the brakes for a lot of people right now. I think that unless you start seeing large-scale defections, that KBJ, as we've been telling you all along, we're examining her record, and we're going to tell the truth about what her record is. And we've talked about these cases involving child pornography. We've talked about these cases involving acts that were done against toddlers in some of the images. But That being said, you've got 3 moderate Republicans who have already come out and said that they were going to support her. You've also got several moderate Democrats who came out and said they were going to support her, like Manchin, and then Kelly, who represents, Senator Kelly, who represents Arizona, which is, of course, a very purple state. And so if you don't have people that are at the moderate wings of the party that are willing to flip on anything or willing to swing in any direction, then it just comes down to math. The math ain't on your side. So what you've got to do then, if you're someone who's on the side, if you're a conservative, if you're someone who stands up for the rule of law, the protection of children, if you want to actually go and lock up people who are the purveyors of this kind of content, of this kind of activity, you've got to go to those senators directly in those states, like West Virginia, like Arizona, like Utah, Alaska, Maine, and go to the senators directly and call them out. Otherwise, it ain't going to work because they've all met with her. So Senator Mitt Romney came out and said that he's going to support her. Now, this is interesting for Romney because, of course, he ran as the principled conservative running for Senate. He was also the presidential nominee for the GOP in the year 2012. You know something interesting? I was tweet mining Mitt Romney's Twitter account yesterday, and I said, this is really weird to me because this is a guy who campaigns as a pro-life candidate. In 2012, he came up with this huge statement that he pivoted on the abortion issue. And what did he mean by that? Well, he said, because when he ran for Senate all the way back in 1994, he actually ran as a social liberal when it came to issues like abortion. He ran as somebody who said that he was to the left of Ted Kennedy, who he was running against at the time, Massachusetts Senate. He later became governor of Massachusetts. He ran on a strong pro-choice platform. That's just true. That's a fact. You can go look that up. Everyone can see this in 1994. Then in 2012, he says, well, I had this conversion and, I was looking into stem cell research and I found out how these fetuses were being treated and I decided now I'm pro-life. Okay. And then he comes out yesterday and says, I'm going to vote for Ketanji Brown Jackson, who is a massive abortion supporter. So when I look at this and I look at a politician like Senator Mitt Romney, there's 2 ways to look at it, right? There's the way that he wants you to look at it, that he's a passionate supporter of the Constitution, that he's a passionate supporter of principled conservatism. Or you could look at it as a guy who puts his finger to the wind, who doesn't actually have any principle at all, and his only principle is politics. And the only thing he cares about is himself and his own legacy and his own rank, his credential. He just wants to be some. Remember, his dad ran for president. He ran for president. They both failed. But then his dad became governor of Michigan. He became governor of Massachusetts, and later, finally, senator from Utah. Just moving around until he can find something he can run for and win. These people are part of a political class. Do not believe anything they tell you because they could flip on a moment's notice. They are using you. They're telling you what you want to hear. They're telling you one thing when they run. And then when they get into office, they turn around and do something else. So KBJ is going to be on the Supreme Court. Perhaps Ketanji Brown Jackson will be our first Disney Supreme Court justice. We know how she's going to rule on these things. She's ruled the exact same way when she's been on the appellate bench, year after year after year. We know what her judicial philosophy is. We know what her rulings are. Mitt Romney knows what his rulings are. This is going to come down for 30 years. For 30 years, she's going to be making these rulings on the Supreme Court. So Mitt Romney, all the other senators that are supporting her, understand she is now part of your legacy as well. And you will be remembered for your vote all throughout history.
Arriving on high-speed trains, planes, and buses, thousands of healthcare workers have arrived in Shanghai. Suitcase-laden and masked up, they've been recruited to help carry out mass COVID-19 testing of the city's 26 million residents. Testing the megacity is no easy feat, and so far, 38,000 healthcare workers and medical personnel from across the armed forces have been drafted in from nearby provinces to get the job done, according to state media.
So the city of Shanghai, the place where, look, I lived there for 2 years. For a lot of reasons, I have this feeling of, I remember the people there, I remember the host family that I would stay with, that I would, have dinner with day after day. that they accepted me at their house. So the way it worked when I was in this program in China, I was part of this, foreign student program, your basic study abroad kind of setup thing, and then they have a host family, and you pay a little extra, and then you can go and meet with them, and you make dinner together, you make dumplings, and then while you're there, they obviously at that point were, pretty good English speakers, at least the two parents, and then, actually their daughter was a really good English speaker, and they would also help you to learn something about Chinese culture, learn Chinese language, and we've actually kept in touch with them to an extent, and we've heard that they're doing well, that they are okay. But the people of Shanghai right now, it was supposed to be only 9 days. Now we don't even know where the end is in sight for this lockdown. The authoritarian CCP leadership is now the latest. We're hearing, and this is out of CNN, and Zero Hedge has it, Beijing is dispatching the military to Shanghai as expanded lockdown is triggering unrest. Thousands of troops, 2,000 military personnel, and another 30,000 medical workers are going to be sent to Shanghai, a city of 26 million people, one of the largest cities of the world, is now essentially under military occupation by the CCP. And not only are they being held like this, they're being forced to stay in their homes, they're being forced into quarantine chambers, they're being separated from their children if the children test positive or if the parents test positive. They have total control there, and they can do this. So when I look at this situation and I think about the friends that I made when I was there, and I think about the people living under this authoritarian dictatorship, I have to step back and say, these are the same type of people that our leaders and our elites, the same type of policies, the same type of plans, the same type of powers that they want to appoint themselves here in the United States. They want you and your family and your children to be under this exact same kind of governmental power. And you can say, oh, well, it's about Omicron and we have to be careful. Keep in mind, we already know that Omicron isn't as strong as the other variants. They know that. But the point isn't making people healthy. We've already seen all the lockdown studies and shown that if anything, they had a minimal effect and probably caused more problems than they did good. But the CCP doesn't care about that because the point isn't health. It's not about your health. It's about power. It's about making sure that everybody knows in society who has power and who doesn't. In the CCP, they have the power. You do not have the power. Xi Jinping, he's the one who has total control in China. And by the way, speaking of Xi Jinping, ever since the Olympics happened, then the invasion of Ukraine happened, whole world wants to talk about Vladimir Putin. People want to say, what's he doing? What's he up to? What's he thinking? Xi Jinping, total free reign. I said it before. I said it prior to the Olympics even started. I wrote about this in Newsweek. You're going to see a situation where the island nation of Taiwan is completely subjugated. They're going to be invaded. They're going to be taken over, and they're going to be locked down by the Chinese military, the PLA. And the world isn't going to lift a finger to say or do anything about it. Oh, they might, I guess they might have some conference. They might release a statement. But at the end of the day, there's nothing. They have no leverage. These people have total control. And meanwhile, our elites are looking at Klaus Schwab and saying, how can we replicate that system and that program here in the United States and across the West? We want some of that here. That's what we want.
The fact that you have so many Ukrainians seeking refuge in this country of Poland. We understand that because we have in our southern border thousands of people a day, literally, not figuratively, trying to get into the United States.
So this is a massive story. New documents that have been leaked from the Department of Homeland Security to Breitbart reveal Biden's mass migration plan offering broad-scale release mechanisms. Randy Clark wrote it up. The Department of Homeland Security is disseminating a mass migration plan devoid of any removal mechanism to replace the soon-to-end CDC Title 42 emergency health order. We've talked about the end of Title 42. The new plan predicts the DHS traditional processing capabilities will be overwhelmed immediately, as we know, and require an increase in the use of, quote, broad-scale release mechanisms. The plan reviewed by Breitbart Texas acknowledges the end of Title 42 will likely result in a surge in illegal migration. Isn't that nice? Our own government knows what their own policies are going to do. The increase is already manifesting itself as apprehensions rise. In March, Border Patrol agents apprehended more than 200,000 migrants. 200,000 per month coming into this country, and that's with Title 42 in place. So what happens when Title 42 takes off? The draft plan, recently circulated to senior DHS staff, is dated February 17, 2022. A source within the agency not authorized to speak to the media says the plan offers no concrete options other than to exhaust more resources to absorb what will likely be a historic wave of migrants at the southern border. What is it called? The Southwest Border Mass Irregular Migration Contingency Plan. This is completely insane. Your own government, ladies and gentlemen, knows exactly what's going to happen. They're telling you what's going to happen. Keep in mind, this was written in February, so the work was probably done in January, a month before the 200,000 came up in March. They know exactly what they're doing. Now, I'm familiar with Hanlon's razor, right? Hanlon's razor is do not attribute to malice that which you can attribute to incompetence. That's Hanlon's razor. That being said, when DHS is producing documents that tell you, they say, sir, there's going to be a massive surge of migrants if you take off Title 42, this public health order, the current thing, it was signed by President Trump all the way back in the early stages of the pandemic, early stages of 2020, and there's going to be a mass irregular migration coming forward if you take this thing off. Sir, that's what's going to happen, just so you know. They're doing it anyway. They're taking it off the books. So when I see things like that and we get documents like this, you really have to ask yourself, are we seeing the managed decline of the United States, like they used to say, or are we now seeing a complete free fall? Look at this in terms of economic policy, energy policy, our currency, our foreign policy, from Afghanistan to Ukraine, from Kabul to Kyiv. Our country's foreign policy is in complete shambles. Our border is about to be completely open wide. The floodgates are about to open. DHS knows it's going to happen. Your money is about to be worthless. Our economy is about to tank. And Jen Psaki's going to the Peacock Network. Of course she's going to the Peacock Network. Everybody is about to start running from the sinking ship that is the Biden administration. And that's all the time we have here today. Human Events Daily. Remember, our promise, our oath, our solemn vow to you: be good, be brief, be gone. And remember, your homework for us: share this out with just one of your normie friends, and leave us your 5-star review. Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. What did we talk about today? Elon Musk taking a leadership position in Twitter, and then also the implications of that more broadly for Generation X. Next, we talked about KBJ, the fact that she is going to be getting in, and snakes like Senator Mitt Romney are supporting her. Third, we talked about the CCP deploying military assets to enforce the Shanghai lockdown. And finally, most explosively, the Biden administration's mass migration plan for the southern border. But before we go, it's time for today's moment of history. 82 years ago, April 1940, 25,000 Polish military officers and intelligentsia were slaughtered in the Cotton Massacre by the NKVD, Soviet agents. And it was covered up by the West for years because it was seen as politically incorrect. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, you have my permission to lay ashore.
China lied, people died. You think we're the only economy that China wants to see fail?
You haven't been paying attention.
Remember all your online purchases? But really, we're the product. Am I the only one who wants to know why the rich got so much richer? Are you still with me? Because it gets worse.
Welcome to Benny on the Block here in St. Petersburg, the most LGBT-friendly city probably in America. This week, Ron DeSantis signed the bill called the Parental Rights and Education Bill. We've been listening to the Oscars.
We're going to have a great night tonight, and for you people in Florida, we're going to have a gay night.
To people in corporate media, and they've been saying you can't say the word G-A-Y in the state of Florida. It's now legal.
Florida's state senate just passed the so-called Don't Say Gay bill.
Don't Say Gay bill.
Don't Say Gay bill.
So that's our question today for Benny on the Block. What happens if you say the word gay?
Halt. You are in violation of the law. You have said the forbidden word.
Oh my God, Sam. Oh my God, it's happening. Holy we have to get out of here.
Halt. You are in violation of the law. You have said the forbidden word. Hey, get back here. Don't you dare go into the playground.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
You are a fugitive from the law. Stop running.
Oh my God. Oh my God, you really can't say gay in the state of Florida. They have drones. They have F-16s. Sam, here they come.
You are a fugitive from the law. Stop running. This is the Florida Gay Police. Stop where you are. Stop. You are a fugitive from the law. Halt. You are in violation of the law.
Oh my God! Can you say gay in Florida?
You can still say gay as far as I'm concerned. Am I in trouble? Am I gonna get in trouble?
I don't.
Gay?
No. He said it, Sam. He said, run! Everyone run! Can you still say the word gay in Florida?
Yeah, absolutely. Gay, 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 gay.
Should I say it as well? Gay, 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 gay.
Gay, 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 gay.
This is out of control. The question we have for you fine gentlemen is, can you still say the word gay?
Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
Well, because we have been reading corporate media, and they've told us that it's no longer legal to say the word gay in Florida. Is that true?
Well, that's what we heard, but we're not from here, so we're saying it anyways. Gay, gay, gay.
Sam, my goodness, this man is taking his life into his own hands. So if you were like, these gas prices are really high, I've never seen gas prices this gay, you wouldn't be able to say that.
Definitely not.
Well, I can say it. I mean, I'm not sure if I heard that it's illegal yet, but yeah, I can say it.
So people are still have free speech in Florida?
Yes, we do.
Wow. Amazing. You're like the fourth person today that's been able to say gay and nothing bad happened to you.
You wanna try?
Gay.
Sam, we better delete this footage now. We don't want to get these beautiful people in trouble.
We'll have a gay old time.
Woo!
We'll have a gay old time.
When you're talking to like the preschoolers and stuff, you're not allowed to say it then. Like, that's bad. But yeah, you can still say gay as far as I'm concerned.
I guess if a child has a question, it could be answered, but it doesn't have to be part of a curriculum. I don't know, I'm kind of torn. I mean, I have a lot of great gay friends, so I've certainly nothing against whatever anybody wants to be, but I don't know. I think should be an age limit to it.
I don't care what Hollywood says. I don't care what big corporations say. Here I stand. I'm not backing down.
Even when used in perceived by most the right context, it would still probably cause unrest, to put it, kindly, or some sort of emotional turmoil in those that might hear it out of context.
Gay, 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 gay.
These people are risking arrest, Sam, I think.
Yeah, I agree with Ron DeSantis. Right? Kids shouldn't learn that people can be straight or gay in school. We shouldn't teach them that. We should just let them get surprised when they turn 18. What? Two men can do what?
Gay.
Yeah, gay.
Okay.
So it's still legal here. Because we've been reading a lot of headlines. It's like, don't say gay bill means you can't say gay.
Depends on how
how you portray it, how do you put it out there.
What would be the wrong way to do it?
Don't judge somebody.
That's right. That's right. Be nice to everyone. Yeah. What do you guys think of this, kind of controversy? Does it affect your life?
Man, as long as they let me smoke my blunts, I don't care what happens, man. Oh wait, that's legal though.
Is it socially frowned upon, or is it the right adjective to use? I personally don't care whether people do it or not, but I know some people are very emotional about it, so if you don't want to get slapped or just don't use it, but
you don't want to get Will Smithed.
I just got it. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, wow. Are you able to say gay in Iowa still? Yeah. We can say gay and we can say let's go, Brandon. That's why I love the state of Iowa. I knew my people would represent. Thank God, I've been doing this show for 10 years and finally Iowans. Yes. Best people on planet Earth. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I think that's a myth busted.
Gay.
He said it, Sam. Many people said gay in the state of Florida. Many people were able to speak their mind. They just don't want their kids to be indoctrinated in school by radical freakazoid leftists who want to somehow sexualize kindergartners. So actually, it's more of a parents' rights and education bill and less of a don't say gay. Oh my God, Sam, we did it again. Hey, it's Benny Johnson here, Turning Point USA's Chief Creative Officer. If you like this video you just watched, be sure to subscribe to the official Turning Point USA channel and never miss an episode. See you guys next week.
Oh my gosh, you guys! I am absolutely overjoyed by our new politics show. Look at this. Matt and Chrissy Hammer did everything. You can find their info in the description if you're looking for a conservative design company for your home or your business. Today we're talking about mom guilt, beauty trends, celeb drama, and more. So here we go. The first thing I want to bring up to you today are what I call show-off snacks. Please tell me you've seen what I'm talking about. It's when moms make these super elaborate designs with their kids' snacks all over Instagram. It's like snack art.
Thank you for the snack. It's quite delicious.
Mommy bloggers have been posting these like crazy lately. And the queen of what I call show-off snacks is Amber Fillerup Clark, who is someone I love to follow, but whose personal views I disagree with 99.9% of the time, but that's okay. That's okay. She's making space designs, fire-breathing dragons, animals sailing out to sea, and fruit porcupines. Obviously, this is so sweet and adorable, but what I want to know from our mom-servatives is, when you see mommy bloggers doing stuff like this for their kids, does it inspire you? Are you like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna take, 2 hours out of my day to prep their after-school snack, it's so amazing? Or does it make you feel like crap, like I'm a terrible mom, I'm not doing enough?
Wait a minute. Don't compare. Don't compare yourself to me.
They would never make. I'm not a mom yet, but I can already imagine myself seeing stuff like this and letting it make me feel bad for not being creative enough as mom.
Well, what's there to eat?
Pink, the singer, was butthurt that Rolling Stones made a 25 greatest Grammy performances ever list and didn't include her on there. Remember when she did the ribbon twirling thing in 2010 for Glitter in the Air? It had never been done before. When Pink saw this Rolling Stone article, she was pretty furious. She said that Rolling Stone has been irrelevant since 1990 and that they were sellouts and haven't done their homework. I actually think Pink might have a point here. For her performance not to be included on the list at all, especially not in the top 5, seems like it was a mistake made by some Gen Z social media intern who honestly forgot or doesn't even remember that performance because it was groundbreaking at the Grammys. Do you think Pink is seeing red for no reason, or is she totally justified in feeling stiffed? Let's talk makeup trends. I'm disturbed and I'm scared.
It's all an illusion. I'm wearing makeup. I'm wearing makeup, 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 makeup.
Multiple times over the last week on Instagram and in real life, I have seen girls doing the full face of foundation thing where they put it on everywhere on their face, like even their lips, which is one of my biggest pet peeves ever.
Bury me in lip kits and eyeshadow.
That is one of the most hideous looks to have your face look all one color like that. No blush, no lip color, just completely beige or whatever, up and down. When I was in high school, girls used to do this and I thought it was ugly then too. So I really hope it's not coming back. I need to know if you've seen that lately, and I hope that I'm the only one because then maybe it was just a few random girls that don't know what they're doing.
If you saw me, would you call the police?
Now, another trend that you need to be aware of. We are using disposable cameras now. Every bar, every club, you aren't cool if you don't have a disposable camera taking pics or an old digital camera. The worse the quality, the better. I don't know how to explain it, but nostalgia is so in with Gen Z that they actually prefer everything to be old looking, from their clothes to their technology. I hope the disposable camera thing is a slippery slope into bringing sidekicks back. If Apple could make a sidekick type phone that has all the smartphone capabilities but a full keyboard you can type on, I would lose my mind.
I don't know if you guys remember from Zoe 101, the tech mate. This is like the tech mate from Zoe 101. Does that make sense? Here's how it works. So this is the phone, and you would move this thing, hold on, like this. Oh my God, I'm holding it upside down. But you'd move it like that. You would have a full keyboard here and then the screen up here. And then here you would control everything. There are so many pictures of Kim Kardashian and Paris Hilton using this phone. It is just such a moment, such an era. And they always had it like pink and bedazzled.
Here are a couple extra headlines that you need to know.
Hot Take Tuesday.
Denzel Washington says he prayed with Will Smith after his Oscar slap. Apparently during the commercial break, he and Tyler Perry went over to Will to calm him down and started to pray over him, saying, "Who are we to condemn? I don't know all the ins and outs of the situation, but I know the only solution was prayer, the way I see it." Will Smith is definitely gonna need a lot of prayer because experts say his brand is forever tarnished and that he's now damaged goods in the industry. There seems to be truth to this, as one of his projects with Netflix that was supposed to be coming out relatively soon has been put on hold.
Mind your business, that's all. Mind your business.
According to the Daily Wire, retired NFL tight end Shannon Sharpe, a sports analyst on Fox Sports 1, faced backlash over the weekend, as he should, for saying that he would rather pay $20 for a gallon of gas than have former President Donald Trump still in the White House.
What is it like where you come from?
So out of touch. Some genuinely believe that these gas prices are somehow a better solution for America. Like, let's just have everyone broke and miserable as long as feelings are spared. Don't you love the left?
I'll give you $40 worth of coupons for a burrito with cheese. It's all I've got.
Then there was all that controversy last week with Disney over the Don't Say Gay bill. And while people were speaking out about that in America, guess what Disney was secretly doing? Starting Disney Plus streaming services in countries like Qatar and Yemen, where being homosexual is illegal. I give up. Disney's list of hypocrites is longer than Rapunzel's stupid hair.
Yeah, I just want to let you know, the back of your head is ridiculous.
Another massive thank you to Matt and Chrissy Hammer from Men Design for designing the new Politics set. Politics has done a lot of growing lately, all thanks to you, so it made sense that the set be, a little bit more grown up. And if you haven't heard Matt and Chrissy's insane story of being discriminated against by HGTV for being a white American family, then listen to season 1, episode 23 of The Spillover. Like this episode to show the new set some love. Momservatives, how do you really feel about mommy blogging snack art? And everyone tell us what you think of the new set in the comments. We have some really fun reels coming soon too to share the transformation and even what brand everything is. If there's something that you see there like, oh my gosh, I like that, I want it in my own house. Share this episode with a friend who doesn't leave the house without her disposable camera, and then click that save button. We're back tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. It's pop culture without the propaganda every single day. I'm Alex Clark, and this is the brand new Politics. Clearly, Politics is best served visual, but you can find us anywhere you get your podcasts if you prefer to listen while you're in the car, on your way to work, what have you. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, and more. Plus, subscribe to Politics on YouTube. And don't forget, make sure you're leaving those 5-star reviews.